Kate Bush, don't you?
I'm glad you enjoy her.
She was so wonderful. We're now going from the wonderment of Kate Bush to the informative wonderment of Feargal McCormack, our fiscal guru. Simon Hamilton was in town.
He was indeed.
And that's that out again.
And,
just clip that in your way. Keep that thing loose there,
yeah,
that wire.
Simon was in town last week. I must say the Chamber hosted him to lunch, and he was very impressive. He's a very impressive politician, to be honest. He's on top of his brief. Yeah. I thought he was very honest.
Were we asking him for anything?
Well, I think you're always asking him to enhance government intervention in this area. But equally, I think we're asking him to implement policies which ultimately will enhance all our prosperity. And one of the key points obviously put forward to him was the corporation tax.
Yes.
Also, the Southern Relief Road was mentioned strongly.
Yeah.
And he said on the Southern Relief Road that Danny Kennedy's department were currently carrying out research, and that there wasn't a bid yet into the budget system into his department, but he could understand the rationale for it.
Yeah.
In respect of corporation tax, I think he gave very strong hints that
it needs to be low, doesn't it?
Yeah, he gave very strong hints that after the Scottish referendum, I think it's his belief, it's not if, but rather when. He believes it's going to come in. Will come in. What we may come in is mean that Westminster will devolve powers to the Assembly to implement it.
Yeah. What are they in the? Is it 12% in the Republic of Ireland?
12.5%.
12.5% in the Republic. So if we're coming in at something like that or under, that's going to be good for business.
Yeah, you're coming in near 12.5% is phenomenal for business, because what it does is, first of all, it attracts, and one of the key issues in Northern Ireland is, because of our low private sector, the only way we can significantly grow the private sector initially, despite all our best endeavours locally, which are important, is actually to attract FDI, foreign direct investment. Because with that transfer of knowledge, and even if those businesses leave after 10 years, but even up by the time they have left, the local workforce have had significant knowledge transferred to it, have had significant access to overseas markets. Like quite often spin-outs can take place. For example, when Digital left Galway 15 years ago, people said Galway was going to die. Galway didn't die, because the people power, in that 10 years they were there, they had transferred a level of knowledge to people, which led to spin-outs.
But they're more likely to stay if they've got the good corporation tax rate than all the grants in the world, because grants end. Tax rate is ongoing.
Yes, and well, you got to accept, there's always quite often a combination, but the most important thing about tax is you only pay a tax if you make profits.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is you want to attract the most profitable companies. And if you wish to attract the most profitable companies, one of the most important factors for a company is the effective rate of tax it pays. Because if it doesn't pay the state tax, then it can reinvest that money back into the company, or it can pay some of it out in the form of dividends to its shareholders. So it's a very important, in terms of a global economy, tax rates are very, very important.
At the moment, the government, the absence of such an attractive tax regime, in a sense, the government is killing the goose that's capable of laying the golden egg. Well,
I put it a different way. All economists suggest that unless there is some fundamental change in the underlying economic infrastructure of Northern Ireland, in 20 years' time, the public sector will continue to dominate the economy. Now, the implications of that is that if you don't have a significantly powerful private sector, you can't create the wealth which ultimately will reduce the dependence on the public sector. Our dependence on the public sector means that we've got to keep very nice to the people of South East England.
Of course.
Because actually at present they're contributing somewhere, and this is a debatable figure, it's at least 9 billion, and it could be as high as 12 billion.
But you're being very generous to us if you say that in 20 years' time they're still going to be willing, they will still be willing to fund us from the public purse. They may not, they may change their minds and say, stop.
I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that Northern Ireland is apparently legitimately part of the United Kingdom until obviously post the Good Friday Agreement there's a referendum but otherwise. I think to be realistic and one's honest, that the South couldn't afford us either. So if all of a sudden people voted for a United Ireland, I think that would, tied into that, would be a massive arrangement with the UK for a significant period of time to continue subsidising the economy.
Our schools are a huge key to unlocking entrepreneurial potential here and getting us away from that dependency on the public purse.
Unfortunately, no, not totally, because I think our schools locally here are doing a very good job, and I think it's very encouraging that entrepreneurship is growing, and certainly we look at the number of startups in the area, they're encouraging. I think the big truth is that unless we change the economic model of Northern Ireland, it won't have a dramatic impact, because no matter what you and I do, we can make a small positive change.
Who's going to make that impact? Who's going to make that change, that big, important model change?
Well, that's why corporation tax is the key thing. It's not corporation tax in itself. It's the fact that it is the potential over a significant period of time, not, by the way, over a 1 to 2, 3, 4 year period, but over a significant period, to be a game changer. If you look at the Republic of Ireland, you're talking about always different environments, but if you look at the Republic of Ireland, when the mass and different people tried to lobby for this lower tax, they didn't have the financial resources, obviously, of the British Empire or the British government, so they couldn't give out grants. But the facts are very simple. Like whatever it is, they have the top 28 of the top pharmaceutical companies in the world. I mean, this wee island is now the second largest ICT in the world. You don't, we're lovely people and we're very nice and we talk to people lovely and we have good education and etc. We're well positioned, but you just don't get that type of hardcore business unless you have infrastructure. And we, I believe, in Northern Ireland, I think Invest NI, who come in for a lot of criticism actually, I think their strategy has been good the last couple of years. I think one of the problems we slightly have as a people is, it's a strength, but it's a problem, is that at times in terms of business we can be too parochial. There is no one who's a stronger advocate for sense of community and sense of belonging than myself. But there's a subtle difference in sense of place, belonging and community, and not being realistic that if something happens in Dublin or indeed Derry, it's a benefit to here ultimately. But we have this mentality now again which says, they have X in Armagh, we must have it too. That really is tragic. What we'd rather have is they've X in Armagh, perhaps we should now go for Y. And the two together would be great.
Yeah.
And therefore, that's a major challenge for us.
That in particular might apply to Newry and Dundalk, for example. There could be a collaborative procession towards a more prosperous future for both cities, town, on that particular cluster. Well,
I think, to be fair, the Newry-Dundalk Twin City, the Newry-Dundalk Collaborative Project, etc., has been going on now for about 15 years. I think that has given a significant impetus to this area, and it will continue. And there are a number of reasons for that. You need, for economic sustainability as a region, you probably need around 200,000 people. That's the reality. We all love where we live. We all love it's a great place. But if you look at the economic facts are very simple. People will not want to invest unless they think they can recruit employees, they can have access to universities, they can have access to education, etc., roads. And there is a feeling that in order to achieve that, you must have a mass of at least 200,000 people. Now, believe it or not, if you look at the island of Ireland, and you think you have Belfast and you have Dublin, you have Cork, you have Galway, okay, and potentially you could argue Limerick for various reasons because of the airport. The other major potential urban conurbation is Newry-Dundalk. Newry-Dundalk, and that's why, in terms of the new council, etc., you've heard me say this before, it's really important that we go out of our way to convince the people of Newcastle, and indeed the Ards, perhaps, that they're actually better siding with us in terms of natural community population hub, because actually they'll get lost in Belfast, but they won't get lost here. We need Drogheda, we need Monaghan, and if we can combine those areas together from an economic region, and obviously this was, I previously chaired, as you know, the International Centre for Local and Regional Development, ICLRD, appointed by the two governments. And to be fair to that organisation, and I can't claim much credit for this, because it was government, Belfast, Dublin driven and university driven. It recognised for a long time that the great opportunity in the Dublin-Belfast economic corridor to create that third centre of concentration was the Newry Dundalk region.
We're beginning to experience beneficial flow from that, aren't we? Things are happening, more so than in Belfast. Look, the loss of my van was a major blow down there, and my van's loss was our gain.
Well, again, I think it's great to see MGM Marine, Brian McConville's team, being able to acquire some elements of the former MyVan business to complement their existing MGM business. And I think it's a great vote of confidence, first of all, in MGM. It's a vote of confidence in the area. And it's tremendous that we have entrepreneurs of the calibre of Brian McConville and his team, who literally are generating revenue mainly from outside Northern Ireland. It comes back to this model that literally, if you've only got a population of 1.5 million and 5 million on the island, you've got to generate your revenue if you wish to compete in an international market from considerably off your island. And MGM are an excellent example. You know, their facilities out there at Carnbean are state of the art, and hopefully the acquisition of parts of the MyVan business will create greater utilisation of the facilities at Carnbean.
We move on, and you're taking Simon Hamilton seriously when he reckons the Southern Relief Road begins to snort just a little bit of life potential.
Well, and certainly from an economic point of view, the key missing element to this particular region, and the reason why it's fundamental is that if you think about it, simple things. If trucks are leaving Warren Point Port, they won't go through Newry. They go up onto the Southern Relief Road to go to Belfast. If people are coming to Strangford or Carlingford, or they're going down to Newcastle, they won't go through Newry. They'll go over the Southern Relief Road from Bridge to Warren Point that way. It opens up the entire eastern sideboard. Now, it'll have to stand up economically. But to be honest, I think one of the best value for money investments ever made by the government was the road. The road between Dublin and Newry, Dublin and Belfast, has been transformed. And I think nobody is now suggesting that wasn't money well spent.
Oh, no, it's
and
huge
similarly,
money.
if you look at, you have half the population, nearly half the population of Ireland on the Eastern Corridor. It has to open up exciting business opportunities.
And the missing link is the
and
relief road.
But yes, it's a key element of it. And one of the key things that I think we have recognised on this programme, Rowan, for some time, was it may not be popular at the time, but we're better putting money into infrastructure than individual projects.
Oh, yeah.
We're better funding significant infrastructure, which all companies and all forms of life can benefit from, rather than pumping our resources into projects that small communities can benefit from.
No, I can see that. New car sales rose 33% in January. It's pretty all right. Yeah, they're up by 33%. A total of 22,927 new cars were bought in January. Goodness gracious.
It's one of the trends that one looks for economic activity. I think one of the other things to keep our eye out for going forward is that people genuinely have been driving cars a little longer. They genuinely have been deferring repairs. And hopefully those things combined with new car sales will create a little bit of economic activity.
They're saying that part of the reason for this is a freeing up of available finance. And often this finance is being provided by the car makers.
Well, obviously, again, I mean, these people are making cars, they want you to buy them. I think, to be fair, one of the key elements then becomes the second-hand car market. Because this whole model doesn't work unless the cars which people dispose of can be acquired by other people. So there's a knock-on effect, and I think ultimately dependent on the entire project is whether there's a little bit of consumer confidence out there. But the reality is, cars have a useful economic life, and you can stretch them 1 year or 2 years. But depending on what your needs are, you know, the reality is at some stage you need to look at
the crucial thing.
The balancing of whether it makes sense to continue to have a slightly older car and repair it, but always remembering each year is losing value. And there are certain economic models depending on the level of mileage you're doing and the level of needs for business, etc., that there are some models which suggest that actually it's the correct, it's the best value model to actually work like a contract hire every 3 years and
just keep repeating,
keep it going,
yeah.
and therefore you pay roughly the same amount of money. You don't, technically speaking, you never own your car.
Never, but still, you certainly drive it. You drive it
Well, you
with passion and with pleasure.
Hopefully you enjoy it anyway.
Yeah, Ryanair, a loss of €35 million for October, November, December last year, and they're saying that. Well, do they give a reason for it? They don't. They say blah 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 blah. Chief Executive O'Leary, who was driving the airline's Kinder and Gentler programme, said the loss was entirely due to a 9% fall in average fares and weaker sterling. When are they going to pull back from that? Or can they pull back from that?
I think, again, you have to observe O'Leary. He's in, whatever you think about the man, he has now suddenly realised, and he's changed quite dramatically, he's softening. And he's realised that he got to where he got to, but there was then a limited market thereafter. So he's now coming back to the softer issues. He's getting his staff to smile a little at you. He's handling your luggage a little bit better. Their numbers are up, actually, I heard last night on TV in January. The bottom line is O'Leary's a very impressive business. Ryanair is an impressive business. And I wouldn't be surprised there was a wee bit of smart, creative accounting there, acknowledging. Yeah. Sterling certainly, in that type of game, currency is a really important game, and quite often they buy ahead 2 or 3 months. So the reality is, yes, it's currency and oil is so important in the aircraft industry that a slight deviation. He played for safety, perhaps, because he's always had a policy of, I think, buying ahead.
And philosophically, it's no harm for him to be viewed for. In the popular arena as having lost a bit of money, because the whole legend is the billions are coming in, raking it in, and we're being squeezed into tighter seats. It does him no harm to feel that people may believe that he's getting it a wee bit tight.
I think that's right, but I think equally for us to learn lessons from the model of the business is that if you notice, he's adapting to change. He may not succeed, but he realises he needs to change.
Where did I hear this before, Feargal McCormack?
Well,
you sitting there, that's your mantra.
I think if you don't adapt to change, if you don't be flexible.
Yeah, you're gone.
Well, you're not gone, but your long-term effectiveness and sustainability is limited.
I suppose we're all gone eventually. You're gone now after your 20 minutes. You're going off to other things.
Well, I think it's always important that we look forward with hope, and hopefully another exciting day beckons.
Well, where are you heading today? The Mill or Belfast?
No, I'm actually in Newry today, in Newry all day today. My only day in Newry this week, actually.
Yeah, well, you're exporting to the world. You're heading out in Europe.
I'm on the road the rest.
Which is very good indeed.
I'm on the road the rest of the. I'm actually in Newton Abbey on Wednesday evening, and I'm in a Skill on Thursday morning. So.
Good. It's all good. And hope and optimism all the way.
Thank you very much,
God
Rowan.
bless you. Go well. Take care. Music, sir.